September 21st, full moon, Wanpra, Lunar Observance Day, harvest moon, equinox, it's a full moon on the equinox, the autumnal equinox. And during the meditation there was a power outage, and now we're on our wonderful backup power. And mind likes to go to extremes. So, okay, this is it. This is the invasion. This is the end. Oh yeah, the Wi-Fi is working. It's probably just a local power outage. Yeah. Thought, if the Wi-Fi is not working, maybe the whole world just went out, and we're the only ones with power. And okay, nope, the extreme wasn't the case. Just a local power outage. That mind likes to go to extremes. It's more exciting. Found myself thinking quite a bit about Lumpur Liam these days, and also thinking quite a bit about Lumpur Ban and Lumpur Cha and these Kruba Ajahns. Just kind of a sense of gratitude for what we have, what we've been given. So there's this desire to keep it going. So how do we keep it going? And we do that through the practice. It's the equinox, I think of like equanimity, upekkha, and that's a quality which Lumpur Liam has, very strong for him. I think upekkha, it's not just equanimity in terms of indifference, because indifference is the near enemy of upekkha, or of equanimity. So it's not kind of a stale indifference. So upekkha is a very powerful quality, a very necessary quality. I think you combine it with other qualities like patient endurance, and upekkha is something we keep coming back to. I think of it also as a sense of ordinariness. So Lumpur Liam is somebody who is very ordinary, and this incredible love for Dhamma, interest in Dhamma. But he doesn't like to talk about worldly things unless it's somehow benefiting the Sangha or benefiting the monastery. He might talk about some sort of work thing that's happening, but it's always in the context of benefiting the monastery, benefiting the Sangha. It's not just, he doesn't have hobbies. He doesn't have like hobbies where he just amuses himself with little, he doesn't seek out work just for the sake of working or out of restlessness, but it's to benefit, to be of benefit somehow, benefit the Sangha. So that's, I find that's quite an important quality to have. Anything we do, anything we're doing, any sort of project we might have or any undertaking we're doing, is it of benefit? Is it of benefit to the community? Is it of benefit to the Sangha? You think of something like sweeping trails. We just do that as a meditation, as a Dhamma puja, or mopping floors. We do that as Dhamma puja. Or if we have some sort of project going on, let it be something that we're doing not because it's something we like doing, but because it's of benefit to the monastery. I remember when I became the water monk, I was a anagarika, actually. wasn't even in robes yet, and I didn't have any particular interest in plumbing. That wasn't like my hobby. I wasn't thinking like, I really, now that I'm in the monastery, I really want to work with water pipes and PVC pipe glue, and I really. So that wasn't a particular like interest. But it's just that's what needs to be done. And as samana, And for that contemplation was there from the very early on for me, that a samana is someone who does what needs to be done. Okay, this water pipe needs to be fixed, let's just do what needs to be done. This toilet needs to be fixed or unclogged, just do what needs to be done. So it wasn't out of seeking something, that I particularly wanted to do or wanted to be like a hobby, but it's just doing what needs to be done. Okay, water pipe breaks, let's go fix it. And let's do a good job. Let's do it right so it doesn't break again. The water system here, it was actually, there was some wholesome qualities involved in putting the water system together originally, like frugality, particularly frugality with PVC pipe glue. But that frugality resulted in multiple leaks, which had to be located over the course of about 5 or 10 years. And takes endurance. Okay, I'm just gonna keep digging holes till I find this leak. I'm just gonna keep at it, not give up. Okay, it's between point A and point B. The leak has to be somewhere there. I'm just gonna keep. Okay, I know there's a joint here and there, and I'm just gonna keep digging holes around this road. And as an anagarika, as a novice, I could still dig in the earth. I could still dig holes. So I remember taking a pickaxe. So, okay, I'm going to search for the water leak here. It's on the road, heading up the hill. So digging this, had dug this hole, took the pickaxe and just swung as hard as I could, and it just went straight into the water pipe. You get this geyser of water coming up. Okay, I think I found it. But now that's a new leak. Not necessarily where the old leak was. So eventually we found almost all the leaks. I think there's probably still little leaks somewhere in the 2 miles or however much water line we have in the monastery. But we're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good now. I think equanimity has a sense of timelessness to it as well. There's that sense of like not rushing. You think of like Luang Por Liam, he does a lot. He does a lot in the monastery. He does a lot at Wat Pah Pong. He accomplishes a lot. And yet there's that, you're with him and there's that sense of not rushing. It's okay. Here's a nut, here's a bolt, let's kind of screw them together. That's what's happening in the moment. It's not that we hold the entire thing. We don't hold the whole world on our shoulders. It's okay, there's a screw that needs to be put here. That's all. And then at the end of the day, we don't need to be necessarily thinking about the next day or planning or proliferating about it. It's just okay, just set it down. Go to puja, do some chanting, focus on the chanting. Mind starts thinking about the work, coming back to the chanting, very ordinary. Then the next day, when the time comes, we do the morning meditation, morning puja, morning work meeting, pick up our duties, do what needs to be done. So, and then that creates the pulse of the monastery. And it builds on itself. We just do what needs to be done. It builds on itself, and that's how we accomplish things. That's how we make progress. It's amazing that we're even still here after 25 years, over 25 years of Abhayagiri. It's still going, it's still here just because people come here who want to do benefit, be of benefit. I think something I noticed also over the years is whether people come here to ordain or all of you coming as guests or whatever, it's people who want to learn how to be of benefit. And that's really the kind of person who ends up coming here. And so it's not necessarily people who just want to be benefited, but it's people who actually want to be of benefit also to others. So that's what we learn here. We learn how to be of benefit. So that's what we can learn from Buddha Dhamma. That's what we can learn from the Buddha Sasana, is how to be of benefit to ourselves and to others. So we don't just seek out what we like. We do what needs to be done. So, water monk. I was the water monk for a while, and then eventually somebody else took it over. I think it was when I was water monk probably until I went to Thailand for the first time. So that was June 2005. Somebody else took it over at that point. That might have been Jakasapo at that point? No, maybe. Did you take it over at that point? You were later. Who was it that took over from me? Ajahn Prateep. So Ajahn Prateep maybe was the water monk for a little while. I think going on into the future, we'll need 2 water monks. It's such a big system to look after, so many filters to be changed. But we just do what needs to be done. There can be, so even if we don't aspire to be plumbers, we can still delight in doing a good job and changing the water filters and making sure everything's running smoothly. So at Wat Papong, they do a fair amount of work with concrete, and it's not because they aspire to be concrete workers. It's not because they love, well, some of them probably do love it, but they want to do what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done to build a new meditation hall, to pour the slab floor of a meditation hall. So it takes, they mix concrete. That's what needs to be done. And when that's done, then there's welding and steel work that needs to be done. And when that's done, then there's tile work and roofing and painting and so on that needs to be done. It's not because they aspire to be tile workers or painters, but they just, this is what's needed for the facility, so that as a Buddha puja, help the sasana make a place that's suitable for people to come together and cultivate the path. So that's all. And we don't need to make it very complicated. We just need a space to come together, a sacred space. So that's like this hall. Although in the West, it is a bit more complicated. I think this was 17 years of planning before this hall came about. So, but that was doing what needed to be done to do a place in the West, to help to establish the Buddhasasana in the West. That's just what needed to be done, that amount of work. It seems like every single kuti we've built, so I've learned a lot about this, about permits and the planning process and legalities. So trying to organize all the paperwork and building permits from the past, from the beginning of the monastery up till the present, just to see, how many more dwelling places can we build, and, what went into each one, and discovered letters from the county. I discovered an old letter from the county to Mr. Pasano Bhikkhu, and saying, "Dear Mr. Bhikkhu, the kuti, they don't call it a kuti, but they call it the dwelling place you've built is not to the set standard. Therefore, we can't sort of clear it for you, or we can't. It needs a total redesign or whatever." I thought, geez, yeah, just one dwelling place took so much work. It's like, okay, this isn't going to work. Got to give him something that'll allow the legal stuff and the permits to come about. But we just do what needs to be done, and we do that with that dogged perseverance and equanimity. I mean, we could just give up and say, okay, never mind. You see sometimes, like at the food table, like there's spaghetti, and you're trying to there's like a spoon. You're trying to put it in your bowl, and it just keeps slipping off the spoon. And it's like, okay, well, sometimes you'll see people they'll give up after a little bit, or and then other people will okay, I'm just gonna keep trying, and then it keeps slipping off the spoon. Okay, maybe I'll put it at this angle, that angle. Maybe I'll cut it up a little bit. But sometimes there's that sense of oh, it's just not worth the effort. It's you're trying to get that spaghetti into your bowl, and people are kind of stacking up behind you, waiting to get through the food line. So, like I said in the beginning, mind likes to go to extremes, but our life is actually made up of these very ordinary things that aren't very exciting. So it's worth thinking about. We look for those peak experiences, whether they're good or bad. But then there's just the ordinary nature of things. Might look at the news, get a hit of something, really good or really bad. But at least it's something. If it's really bad, it's actually it's usually really bad. But it's like that. It's like people who cut themselves just so they can feel something. It's it hurts, but at least it's something. Just kind of cut myself so I can just feel just that jolt. Just feel something other than equanimity, something other than neutrality. Just kind of remind me I'm alive. But if we see the ordinary nature of things, and we really put our heart into each and every activity that's going on, and we make it into Dhamma, that it can really be of benefit. That the sense of deep contentment and happiness that can build up from that, the sense of peace that can build up from that. So not much more for me coming up this evening. I'll leave the talk there.